What's up, guys? Tyler at Off the Line Motorsports here. Got another one for you. Apologize for the camera quality first of all. This is on my phone. Let my buddy borrow my GoPro. I'm still waiting on getting that back. So he's making a couple of videos for something he's working on. But yeah, so first of all, we have got my turbine housing. As you can see, I already welded the tube for the wastegate. I'm going to mount that wastegate directly onto the turbine housing, which is all well and good. Should be pretty straightforward. So basically, what I'm going to do is I am going to weld this V-band clamp directly to this turbine housing. Now, couple things. The biggest thing really is that this is a giant piece of cast mild steel. Not a whole lot special about it, but again, this piece is giant. It's thick, it's heavy. This is a relatively small piece of billet stainless steel, 304 if I'm not mistaken. So when you're welding on a giant hunk of metal like this, it's always good to preheat it. So I guess let's kind of start with a couple things you have to have in order to get this done. Biggest things, obviously, you got to have your turbine housing, you've got to have your V-band, some Kapton tape. That's what this stuff is called. You can use this for kind of blocking everything up because this will need to get back purged as you're welding it. You can do it with Kapton tape. People do it with masking tape. Tin foil is a good alternative. I'm going to use this Kapton tape. It's a high temperature kind of synthetic tape. Works really good for back purging. Doesn't really leave a whole lot of residue. Like I said, it's really high temp, so don't have to worry a whole lot about it melting. That being said, when it's going to be on the flange for the V-band, basically it's going to be on this outer flange here. We might start to get some issues with that starting to burn away, but overall, it's not going to be much of a problem. If that starts to happen excessively, I might go grab a piece of tin foil, cover that up. But yeah, that's pretty much it for blocking it off, back purging. I have this purge block here that I made. I used for doing manifolds. I also have kind of this edge for it where I use it for turbo flanges, like if I'm welding up for a merge collector or something like that. Now, I can use this to bolt my turbo to. Works as a good heat sink as well. That's why it's so thick and chunky. But I think that's just going to be a little much, a little in the way for kind of the little bit of welding I've just got to do around here. I'm going to have to fight around the whole length of this because I'm not going to cut this up because I really got it for doing manifolds. So I don't want to just cut a little chunk off of it. So basically, I'm going to tape off all these ends. I'll poke a little hole to throw my purge tube in and go from there. Well, first of all, we can talk about the welder. Welding this, it's going to be stainless steel to cast iron. You can use like a filler rod, like a 308, which is a nice stainless steel filler rod. I tend to like to use when welding these dissimilar metals like stainless steel to cast iron is using a 309. I believe it has a higher nickel content as well as molybdenum, I think is maybe what it is. Basically, it allows these two metals to fuse really well, not rust out at the corrosion point. If you were going to use mild steel filler rod, it would work. It's not going to be the best quality. So I like to use 309L. I've got two pieces of that, 3/16, or actually this is just 1/16 inch filler, which should be more than plenty to get this going. I could bump it up to a 3/32 rod. I feel like that's a little bit too much. We'll kind of try with that 16th and see kind of where we go. TIG torch. So I have got a number 17 flex head torch on here. I have also got, this is a Furic Fupa 12 cup. Now, I really like these things. If you guys haven't seen these before, This is a ceramic cup, very large, but it also has a double diffuser in here. So they're kind of conical. Really helps disperse that gas nice and I mean really well for doing stainless steel. You kind of crank that gas up, but just making sure that everything's getting covered, and it tends to work really, really good. I've also got a gas lens collet. I don't remember what brand it is, but it's pretty high quality. It works really well. As well as my 3/32 tungsten sharpened to a very nice point. Help keep that arc stable and stuff while I'm welding. The tungsten I am using is actually a purple. It's like a rare metals tungsten. You can pretty much use it for anything, such as I mean, aluminum, steel, even, you know, titanium, those more exotic metals if you're going that route. So yeah, but basically the first step I've got to be doing here is I'm going to clean all this down with some acetone, wherever my acetone made it to, right there. Wipe everything down, get all the residue off of all of this, get all the residue off of the clamp that I'm putting on there, and then I am going to throw some tack welds around it, and then I will I will show you guys the next step. Pretty much time to start tacking this up. So I'm going to go ahead and throw some tacks on here. You can't really do too many tacks. We just want the most tacks and kind of go from there. So start kind of working myself opposite. Don't want to put too much heat in one area and warp this flange. This one's really thick. I'm not super concerned about that, but it's always good practice to kind of minimize the heat in that same area. So just kind of work yourself corner to corner and go from there. Also, something I forgot to do, it's always a nice idea to wipe down your filler rod with some acetone. You never know how long it's been sitting around, kind of what oils and stuff might have gotten on it. So mine's usually pretty well protected, but I'll just show you when I'm done cleaning it. There's still, you know, some stuff on it, so trying to get all that off is going to lead to those nice pretty welds you see on Instagram and stuff. So my machine's at 138. I normally use the pedal when I'm doing stuff like this, so we'll kind of see where I end up. A little bit higher for tacking is not a problem, kind of helps put that heat in quick and get that tack started. So we'll leave it here, see what happens, and keep going. We are going to preheat this before we do our final welding. So what I'm going to do is put this thing on a grill that I've got, get it nice and hot. We're shooting probably 350, 400 degrees. It obviously will be very hot when you take it off. So handle it very carefully. The biggest thing with doing cast to something like this is cracking. We do not want it to crack. This thing gets super hot, obviously. It's the exhaust side of your turbo. It is one of the hottest things in your vehicle, short of maybe the exhaust manifolds leading to it. But we cannot have this cracking. So what we've got to do is we've got to heat it up and then weld it. It's still going to stay nice and hot. That way this metal all flows easier. That way we don't have to turn our amperage way up, balancing, trying between this little part and this giant heat sink here. It's going to suck all the heat out. It's not going to be very fun to weld. If you can get it done, yeah, maybe. Are you going to know if it's going to crack or not before the first heat cycle? No, not really. You could put it on your car, heat it up, get it nice and hot, and then boom, all of a sudden your V-band cracks off. We don't want that to happen. So we're going to weld it. We're going to weld it up nice and tight while it's all being back purged, all that sort of stuff. Then we are going to have some of this sand in that bucket, and we are going to put that in the sand in the bucket, make sure it is completely covered in sand, nice and thick. Then we're going to leave it. We're going to leave it, let it cool down completely naturally while it's insulated by that sand. Nice and slow cool down. Really helps relieve all the stresses, kind of all the metals, making sure that they're combined, all the crystalline structures all in the perfect direction, making sure that when this thing goes through another heat cycle, it won't crack. It's really, really beneficial to preheat this piece, and then when you're done welding it, let it slowly cool. I'm gonna go heat this thing up. I'll bring it back in here, and we're gonna tape everything off, hopefully as good as we can while it's hot. And then get the gas on it, let it purge, probably let it cool down a little bit, and then we'll run our beads around it. All right, it's been probably 15 minutes or so. Let's go get that part, shall we? I've got my fancy portable part heating grill that I've got here. Nice and hot. It's just been chilling kind of on low, bring it up slow. Kind of those slow temperature changes are kind of what we're after. So I already came out here and checked it. No, it's nice and hot. So I'm gonna grab it, kind of bring it back over to the bench, go from there. And I'll turn it off first. Definitely nice and warm. You can see that smoke coming off. Probably a bit hotter than it needs to be. So I'm gonna let that kind of chill out for a minute. Kind of cool back down a hair. But yeah. So as I was saying about this Kapton tape, this thing is already, this is super hot. You guys just saw the smoke coming out, but I grabbed my Kapton tape just to see kind of what it was going to do, see if I could start taping it up, and seems to be holding pretty good. So yeah, I am going to start kind of taping everything off, show you guys how I purge it, and go from there. So let's do that, shall we? Because this piece is so thick, I'm not really that concerned about it cooling off. It's still extremely hot. You do got to kind of work with some urgency. Obviously, you don't want to cool it down too much, although we could probably stick it back on the grill with this Kapton tape. It'd probably be fine. That being said, I like to tape it up after. You do just have to be kind of careful not to burn yourself. I forgot on this one, these bolt holes are actually through bolts into the turbine housing. So those are going to be little pockets that are going to let that argon out. I want to control where that argon is going out in this case, because it does need to escape. You don't really want to pressurize the weld from the inside, because that's going to give you problems while you're welding. such as kind of a lack of penetration and stuff. If it's constantly, you got that gas pressure back there trying to push your weld out, find a spot to escape. So you do need to let that gas escape. Again, you don't want to build a pressure up inside, so just a flow of gas. Also, argon is heavier than air. So what that means is you're going to want argon coming in at relatively a low point, kind of figure out what position you're going to be welding this in, and let that argon kind of push out at the highest point. So what I'm going to do is I am actually just going to take my filler, because it's a relatively small diameter filler, poke a couple holes, if I can do it, in this Kapton tape here to let that gas flow out that way so we don't build up that pressure. This is going to be the highest point. This is pretty much going to be the orientation that I'm welding it. So I'm going to put that argon in low. I'm going to turn it on probably 10 CFM. Doesn't need to be crazy high. Could probably even get away with a little bit lower than that, but put it in a low point. Basically, because it's heavier than air, that argon is going to settle towards the bottom, and it's going to push all that air and stuff out of there first. And then, you know, after a little bit of time, it'll be filled up with, you know, just argon. So I'm going to poke that hole in the bottom side of this flange over here, and kind of turn that on about 10 CFM. I've actually got a separate tank over here compared to my welder tank. Basically what I do is when my tank gets pretty low and I don't think it'll make through the next job of welding, basically I'll retire that tank, put it over there, use it as my purge tank, because I can pretty much run that completely dry. Still keep an eye on it. Obviously you don't want to lose your purge, but kind of a lot less room for error than running out, you know, mid-bead on your welder. So that's why I've got two tanks, and it kind of makes it super easy. If you don't have two tanks, don't want to invest in two tanks, it can be quite expensive. You can also use, I think I've got one right over here actually. A T that screws right into the same spot here, a T, and then you can have dual regulators, so one regulator controlling your purge and the other regulator going to the welder, so you can control those separately and do it all off of one tank. I've got this in. I am going to get that purge line in and start letting that purge up and go from there. So just a small little X, just enough to be able to poke that tube through. A little bit of pressure isn't going to hurt you too much. I'm actually going to throw a couple little pieces just to kind of tighten that up a little bit more. Little tiny bit of pressure isn't going to hurt you too much, but like I was saying, you know, it can start to mess with that penetration of that weld, and we don't want that to happen. So a couple other little scrap pieces of tape just to fill maybe the little bit of bigger holes kind of around your tube hose. So I'm going to turn this on. We're going to let it purge for probably 5 minutes or so. Make sure we get all that oxygen, all that other stuff out of there. So while I'm doing this, I'm also going to grab a scrap piece of just some mild steel just to throw on here. Practice a couple beads. I'm going to try to run a pulse on this. I want to make sure I get that pulse frequency right, to kind of match my speed of being able to go around, as well as how fast I'm going to dab. Still not quite penetrating perfect, but overall not too bad. It's about the speed I think I want it to be at. We might adjust it a little bit more once I actually start welding, but we are getting pretty close. So I'm going to pull this off. This has probably had enough time to purge it out. So I think I'm going to kind of get after it and see what happens. I'm going to put this right around 100 amps, kind of see where we end up. it was barely taking 100 amps to actually tack this, so now that it's preheated and all that, should be quite a bit easier to kind of get that weld going. So yeah, let's see how she wants to act for me. All right. Well, this is what she's looking like all the way around. She's looking pretty good. A little dirty, but you never really know the quality of the cast iron that you're working with. So yeah, basically this is still very hot to the touch. What I'm going to do is I'm going to peel off all that Kapton tape real quick and set it down in my bucket, cover it up, and yeah, basically just let it sit. So be very careful, this part is still extremely hot. See, this tape is just super nice, barely leaves any residue even after being this hot. Make sure you turn your purge off before you forget and lose all your gas. Everything. Again, be careful while you're doing it, because the part should still be pretty hot. Get yourself a handy dandy oven mitt. Steal it from your wife. I'm just joking. My wife doesn't really care as long as I don't ruin anything, which I usually don't. Cool. All that stuff's out of there, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to set this in there. Turn you, hopefully, so you can see. Get that in there nice and good. I'm going to take my hand, get sand everywhere. We want this thing to cool as evenly as possible. So we want sand in every nook and cranny. That's going to help insulate it and just help it cool really fast. I want to cover that thing completely. And then, oops. I'm just going to shake this thing around a bit. I'm pretty confident in that. Shook it down, completely covered. All the parts should be completely covered in that sand. It should basically cool down really slowly now. Be warm for hours. So what I'm gonna do, it's late now, so gonna come back in the morning time, check it out, and I'll kind of show you guys, you know, the final thing, and hopefully it's not cracked. Shouldn't be, you know, kind of did all the right steps. But yeah, we'll take a look at it, and hopefully we can start working on the exhaust now. Now that I've got that, we can get that mounted up, work on my downpipe, and all that sort of stuff. So see you in the morning. What's up, guys? It is the following morning. I already pulled this out of the sand, and let's take a look. Not 100% perfect, but the welds look pretty decent. It's solid on there. Don't really think I'm gonna have any issues here. it's not warped, take my mating flange to it, wipe that off, set that in there. Nice. No warping, everything fits in there as it should. It's not rocking back and forth. Looks like it is going to work perfect. Yeah, so got that done. The next step is going to be doing the full exhaust for the rest of the car and kind of going from there. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe. Definitely subscribe if you could. Turn on your notifications would be awesome for me. Also, commenting if you have any questions, comments, anything like that, feel free to post them on the video and I will try to get back to them when I can. Next video is going to be doing the rest of the exhaust and we'll keep doing it. So until next time, we're signing off. See ya.